events. This is another Canvas Kickoff. Wow, this wind is really picked up. Haul a butt down the interstate. 75. That wind hitting the side of the vehicle. Good morning, y'all. Well, I guess it's morning somewhere. We've already been extremely active today. So, we'll be yanking people in New Hampshire. That's what we do. So I'm going to turn this camera around for a second. Lonely. Whew. That wind has really picked up now. I should have brought my jacket. Alright, make sure y'all tweet it out. Get it out there. Whoo, yeah, I imagine there is a little wind in the mic, guys. Oh, man.
Just drive. Slow right. I don't know.
Stay in the road.
I can't.
Drop him.
This is a totally different location. Like totally different people. Different Yang Gang. What's up, Yang Gang? What's up? Alright.
Oh, what up?
Who is this guy?
Yo, dude, you made it. How did it go today?
You good, good.
Remember when we came for this office opening?
Yes.
First open?
We actually covered this, didn't we? Sure did. This is where the magic happens, y'all.
This is where we had whipped cream.
This is where whipped cream gate took place.
That's a good point. You could go canvas for 500. Do that. That's a better idea.
But for those of you who can't get out here, that's what we're here for, y'all. We are here to do this. We are definitely ganging in New Hampshire. Y'all saw that tweet that we just put out, right? Yang, two first-time voters. They will be voting for Andrew Yang. 2 more for New Hampshire. And that's really cool because she was talking, they were talking to us and talking about how they had never, they hadn't been able to vote because they were too young previously. And so we definitely yanged them.
She said, y'all should go to all the restaurants here and talk to the servers about Andrew.
To which Mama Yang Gang agreed because she would eat at every restaurant.
I do like to eat.
She does like to eat.
My hair is all
and I like to
blown.
cry, which is where we came up with the turkey leg every time I start crying.
Yeah, because I like to eat and he likes to cry.
I'm passionate, man. I got a heart for people. I can't. I'm just a big crybaby, man. That's all I am. Big crybaby. Whatever. Tweet it out, y'all. Tweet it out. Get it out there. We are on location. Somebody said full service candidate.
Yes, yes.
And Mama Yang Gang is always pretty. For sure. So we are live here at the Canvas Kickoff in Manchester, New Hampshire, and this is all different Yang Gang, as you can see, y'all. There's no repeat faces except ours and his. He's definitely got a repeat face. Yeah, this guy right here. We're live streaming.
Oh, what's up? Are you facing me or you?
I am facing you.
Wait, you do not have permission to use my likeness.
We were actually told that, Yang Gang.
Oh yeah, that's right.
At one of the events that we were at.
Well, it wasn't so much that she told us that; it's that she got into our frame to tell us.
Went out of our
yeah. She was probably over there in the background, and she's like, do not use my likeness in your videos. Like, okay, well maybe you shouldn't like look at our camera. You're like literally in our shot right now.
What are you doing?
That was pretty funny.
Great.
Did you end up getting food there?
Food where?
At that bar?
Oh my
You
gosh.
didn't, right?
I
Because
didn't
they
tell
never.
you the whole story.
No, what happened?
Yeah. All right, we'll get this on
Worst service I've
camera.
ever had.
Yeah, for sure. I saw that happening live.
We did finally get food, and I was working on eating it, and I stopped eating it to ask her for the third time for a drink that I ordered 30 minutes ago. For the third time, and she grabbed my plate and threw it away.
Really?
I wasn't even done eating it. She never brought the drink. I
Wait,
asked
wait.
her one more time.
As in, she was doing it to spite you?
I don't know.
Wait, like, were you there and she just like stared you in the eyes and then grabbed the plate and then like
She
poured it?
It's like dead
The
eyed.
story that I'm imagining is one where she was like, oh, excuse me, could you get my thing? She just looked at you and went, just dumped
She
it.
didn't even look at me. She kind of just like, okay.
Look, I
Wait, did
have
you get the drink?
no.
Did you pay for the food?
And I tipped her 30%. I know,
Wait,
I'm
what?
terrible.
See, well, listen, we used to be servers, so we understand how it is. But yeah, I have never seen you. Look, you want to make Mama Yang Gang mad? Take her food. Start messing with her food, and
I don't think he's ever seen me as pissed as I was that night.
she was hot. She
Yeah,
was hot.
I can imagine. I mean, I saw like just the beginnings of it. If she had taken away my food before I was done, I would have like.
Yes, Canadians can donate to us. Any donation links you need will be in any of the descriptions, in any of our other videos.
Someone else came up to me and saw how pissed
Just check through a few of the last videos, and you will definitely just click that little drop down box.
Well, what's interesting is it makes me wonder, like,
I don't know if you guys know, we're doing like a sister city program.
it seemed like that
where
whole
Western-
Screen zombie.
like that half, not our half, the half with the bar was just a lot of angry people. Was there like an angry anonymous meeting there that night? Like, really? Like, because there was another guy when I was walking out, he was like, yeah, get that out of here about the camera.
Yeah, you did.
that
Yeah,
guy,
yeah. This
And
is
I'm
me
like, man,
too.
this is like the most angry, this is where all the angry people go.
I'm telling you, and I think it's because they probably showed up there to have dinner and stuff, and an Andrew Yang event broke out.
Oh, yeah. They're like, man, this is
These
before we go,
fuckers.
it's fucked up. What are they doing getting in our way?
But you know what? Even if we lost those few voters, we're yanging them here in New Hampshire, boy.
Yeah, there we go.
We're putting in work.
Yeah, so how did it go? Did you get some good conversations?
Yeah, we got some good conversations. We always get good conversations. We always have good
What's
conversations.
the opening line when you go up?
Well, I try not to talk on camera because a lot of people who, when you're canvassing, they don't want to be on camera. You know what I'm saying? So you've got to kind of angle the camera away. So we let other people talk a lot. Do
Oh,
that.
so you're saying that, oh, you're with a group.
Yeah, we'll follow
Oh,
them.
okay, yeah, I got you. You show up at the door.
Show up at the door. Hi guys. You want to be on YouTube?
my opening line is just like Andrew Yang. Yes.
Andrew Yang?
Andrew Yang.
Andrew
That's
Yang.
all I can say when talking to people. Andrew Yang.
Familiar faces. Mr. New Hampshire politics himself,
Well,
Steve
it's right
Marchette.
there. That
Yes,
seems like
he-
where he'll be, right?
Yes.
Seems like the appropriate spot. I mean, just because of the stool. They're coming. The people are coming.
Look, I can guarantee you that Zach is going to make sure that there is no whipped cream around this place.
Wait, is this the one that did do it?
Yes.
Oh, guys, you were right. This
We
was the
we covered this event. We covered the opening. Go back through our videos. We covered the opening of this
You
event.
want to see? There will be no whipped cream this time around. If you want whipped cream, you need to. You're gonna have to donate quickly. No, you're right. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I will not doubt your powers in the future.
Yang Gang looks like they're ready.
In other words, it's not like it fell apart.
It will do that. The leg will fall off all the time.
What's up, little Yang Gang?
Try and get me why I keep letting him get me because I
Single issue voters.
Yeah? You want to tell the Yang Gang what's up? Hello?
Servers.
We ganged our servers
At where?
at an awesome Mexican restaurant.
Oh yeah, did you get the Mexican you were looking for?
Yes,
Oh my
finally.
God. So
I actually
good.
told my friend from North Carolina that you said that. And she lived in Texas, so she's like, yeah, they need to go further south.
Yeah, we
it's-
know it's not like authentic, but
We
it's authentic.
Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I assume the further south you go, the
Look.
better it gets.
we don't
And you're all the way
care
at the north.
as long as you fry it and drench it in cheese.
Yeah, that's. Have you had queso?
Yes.
Okay, because in Texas we have queso, but in like California, like so Tex-Mex will eat, they'll have a lot of different things like Cali Mex, whatever you want to call it, Mexican food in California. So one of the things that they'll like do guacamole in other places, but they won't do queso. And in Texas we love that, just a big bowl of cheese
Right.
that you eat your chips with.
Right.
That's not like a thing in California. I mean, you can
It's
get
not a
it
thing
somewhere.
up here either.
It's a thing in North Carolina though.
There it's like Velveeta, you know, that's not.
No, that's
You
not.
need
That's not
some,
gonna
like-
cut it.
Yeah,
You want me to put this in here?
yeah. Tex-Mex is better than Cal-Mex, 100%.
But I don't know. No, I was kind of just moving.
Oh,
around,
you're still
but
walking around.
That's all right.
Okay.
We'll just put it in. That's cool. Gang going into the slot.
There you go, Yang Gang. What happened? Get your phone in there right. Put it over your button. It's gonna be pushing buttons.
I know, man. I got it.
No, you don't.
Mama Yang Gang.
What am I supposed to call you, like Papa Yang Gang?
I don't know.
Moe's queso? I've not had Moe's queso, guys.
I just call you Mama Yang Gang because I call you Mama anyway. And now that we're Yang Gang, actually Mama Yang
Fox
Gang.
Jane is my my nicer twin.
It's funny because the people like I see.
It's actually a name.
It's a
I
name.
still watch
Okay.
it.
The story behind that name is
Or not anymore, rather.
Guy
I watched
Fawkes,
it at the beginning of watching
freedom
it,
fighter,
and it just, it's
symbol
like,
of anonymous.
It's so like it's so predictable.
So there you
that
go.
It's like, oh, I don't really need
Jane
the
Doe.
commentary. I know exactly
Jane
Fox
Doe,
Jane.
but
it's on everything.
Jane
and
Fox.
This is how it's always going to
Fox
be.
Jane.
So
We are speaking
That's
your
me.
language.
I mostly watch David Packman.
So great. I haven't heard that one
Like I don't, not a big
Language.
fan.
I need to-
I like
Linsky,
Scooch.
not a big
Yeah.
fan of
Oh,
his.
it's breaking.
No, I need it.
Oh,
I want it
need
to
it. I
collapse.
need it like that.
Okay. All right. There we go. What's up, Yang Gang?
Wait, what city is this?
Manchester.
Oh wait, this is Manchester.
Yes. We are
Wait.
in Manchester, New Hampshire. Good. This is an awesome cat.
Yeah.
New Hampshire symbol right there. Because that's how we roll. Who's gonna win the football game today?
Shaving cream. Ew. Who wants that?
Rose.
Or are we all
Thank
gonna
you,
be like shaving each other's
Leon.
legs?
Thank you very much. All donations are appreciated. Y'all see how yang sausage we are. I mean, you can tell, man. We've been putting in work this week, and we have put in a lot of miles. Man, we put a lot of miles. We just got, we had to replace the Ghostmobile with a more reliable vehicle, and it's already time for the oil change. And that thing. That's how many miles we put on it. It's nuts. We haven't had that vehicle very long at all. Yes, this place used to be a barbershop. Maybe we'll get some people singing in here. Maybe we'll get Andrew to sing.
Okay. Shaving
That'd be cool.
cream, barbershop.
Shaving cream, barbershop. Yeah.
Something Biden might do and shave each other's legs.
Oh, God. Creepy. You know what? He totally would do that.
I mean, he wants kids to rub on his hairy legs, so. I mean,
I don't know, man. Me, man, what's up, man? You are a crazy dude. You are a crazy dude.
you always look so angry.
You always get so angry in your thumbnail. So I probably need to shave my head again. We are getting close to time. Mr. New Hampshire Politics, Steve Marchand is already here. And there we go. We got Yang Gang showing up in mass. That's the way we like it.
Not in Massachusetts.
No, not in Massachusetts. This is New Hampshire.
Biden was shaving with Tom.
Biden meets shaving with tongue. Live stream. That would be awesome. shout outs to all of our people out there in Iowa who are putting in the work. Thank you so much, Yang Gang. I hope some of y'all are out there. I would say watching, but you know, I know that y'all are out there doing what we're doing here, putting in work, because this is what we got to do. This is how we win. It's got to be boots on the ground, y'all. And the only way we do it, if it's gonna be, it's up to me. Go away notification. There's Mr. New Hampshire Politics himself. And we have got lots of videos to get out. Oh my gosh.
So many.
This has been an action-packed weekend. And it is just intense. And it's been one event right after the other. There's a table full of canvassing materials over there. It's all right, DRS medal. Just hit the pole again. Oh no! Here it comes, the Matrix. Look at this, the Matrix, and it just keeps going. Ah!
It's so great. I love watching it. I can watch that all day.
That's like how many screens now. It's nuts.
Guys, there must not be a lot going on in Vermont.
In Vermont? You know what?
How cool that is.
This is what we do on the weekends.
This is what we
Wait,
do.
oh,
on the
did I? Oh, wait. Oh, because you're watching your own stream. That's why. I was like, wait, I don't understand. Isn't that a video on your phone? No, okay, I got it.
Yeah, it just keeps
yeah,
mirroring.
yeah, no, I understand.
It's a magic trick, man. Jeez, go with it.
Yeah, I got you.
Man, some people are such sticks in the mud.
That might be easily used, but that is quite confusing.
Look at, he's like, just whatever, guys. Just whatever. You do know that we're from the country.
What does that mean?
That means we're not the sharpest tools in the shed.
But are you suggesting? I don't think that has to do with your humor and your enjoyment. You know what I mean?
It might, because it's little and simple, so stuff like that amazes us.
Ted, we simple folk from the country. You see, we didn't get cell phones until 2016.
That's almost accurate.
You are almost correct.
That's probably when I got my first smartphone.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think I got mine in like 2010. So you're real close to the curve. I think that,
2010 they got
We love
smartphones.
hassling Ted.
yeah, 2007 was when the first iPhone came out.
Ted is awesome.
Wow.
And he's such a good sport. Every time that we pick at him, he's such a great sport. So we
It's
love
okay.
talking.
My chat makes fun of me too, so I'm used to it.
Mine does too. Ours
Yeah.
does too.
Yeah.
Ours does too.
Guys,
Don't y'all?
don't you enjoy making fun of us? Isn't
Make
that like
sure
the best part?
Tweet it out. Let's get y'all heard in the last video, Andrew said what he wanted for his birthday,
Yep.
right?
It's a good point.
If y'all missed it, go back to the last live stream and you'll see what Andrew wants for his birthday. And that's something that we can all do. We can all do that. We got to get out there and work, man. We got to be boots on the ground. There's no way that this happens without the Yang Gang. Y'all have seen these events this weekend? Have y'all seen the difference in the size, in the amounts of people, and then bringing in chairs? Oh my gosh, it's so amazing.
Standing ovations.
Standing ovations. Rob DiRienzo said, when we were leaving the other night, he said that standing ovations rarely happen at these events, right?
He goes to multiple candidates.
Because he goes to multiple candidates events, exactly. And at that point in time, when he said that was the third standing ovation. Then we went last night to that event, and he got that standing ovation and packing these houses out. Yeah, y'all donate to this campaign because look, these ad buys are working. They are working. These people are coming out because of these ad buys. They're seeing them.
It's working for Bloomberg and Steyer, too.
It's working for Bloomberg and Steyer. If they can buy their way in, my gosh, so can we. So can we. Y'all, we got to get out here in these early states. And that's, man, you've seen just the growth this past week.
Amazing.
Remember when we would show up to an event and there would be like 10 to 15 of us?
Yep.
And it was all Yang Gang. Like literally all Yang Gang.
Check out our older live streams. You'll see that.
For sure. Marching through the streets of South Carolina
That was great.
with Andrew
That would
Yang.
never happen again.
It'll never happen again. It'll never happen again.
Just a group of what? 12 of
amazing.
us
Yeah.
walking around South Carolina with Andrew.
Because as we go along, you know, this is going to keep evolving, and it's just going to keep getting bigger. And you can't do this stuff. I mean, these moments that like we brought to you on this channel and on so many other channels, you can't duplicate it. This is once in a lifetime, y'all. We have a chance to change things.
Once in a lifetime.
If we let this opportunity slip away from us, it's our own fault. Y'all, we got to leave it all out there. Every bit of it. If there's something more that you can do, you better be doing it. You better not be wasting any time.
Everything you can. We're running out of time, so it's time. It's time to get busy.
Like, seriously, we got a month left. A month. If you can spare, and if you can, and you can donate to people who can, y'all do it. Do it. It ain't gotta be to this channel. It just pick somebody that's in New Hampshire, or pick somebody who's in Iowa, and support them if you can financially. This is so important, y'all. I love y'all. Turn this camera around. Get wound up.
And that was our pirated copy of the Grassroots Gang stream. Please head on over to their channel and throw $1 if you want to support that pirated content that we all love.
Looks like we just got pirated. We got Yang streamed. That's awesome.
Yes, I did check in on my flight. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Rally Portland, Oregon, back when the Stan Gang was first getting big.
That was the biggest until like Austin.
Oh, pardon me.
Oh, that would have been cool to be at.
Gather around, y'all. Gather around. Yeah. You need this space? All right. Don't be afraid. The next president will be here in a few minutes.
That's right.
It's all good. I'm Steve Marchand. I grew up a few blocks from here. So I'm really happy that our Manchester office is here. I have not gotten a haircut in Manchester in 15 years. Or anywhere, actually. I used to be the mayor of Portsmouth, and I ran for governor last year, and I didn't win. And the only good thing about that is it gave me more time a year ago yesterday to meet Andrew Yang.
That's right.
In Manchester. We hit it off. We became friends. Soon thereafter, he became my candidate for president. How many people here have Andrew Yang as their candidate for president? All right. Is there anybody who is Yang curious still? They're not all the way in. They're not, you know, you're Yang curious? Guys, let's give a round of applause for Yang curious.
All right.
Well, you've come to the right place. You're among a lot of friends. How'd you hear about this?
Just surfing the New Hampshire primary campaign events, like websites that they have.
All right. You didn't realize the pressure.
Yeah,
That's good. No. After this, we're going to Londonderry for what will be our 19th and final public event of this 4.5-day stretch. And it's one of the types that we've been typically doing during the stretch, more of a town hall. And it's at the high school there. And 2 months ago, when we were doing these, the crowds were okay, but not nearly as big as we're getting now for these kind of events. And they would be 80% Yang Gang and 20% Yang Curious. And the last trip about a week and a half ago, and throughout this trip right now, it has been quite literally the opposite ratio. Roughly 80% Yang Curious and 20% Yang Gang. And you see that, you can visually see it, in part because I used to be the oldest person at an Andrew Yang event. Actually, older than the candidate, which that didn't used to happen, folks. That means, as I said, I'm in the back nine of life, but only the 10th hole. And it also means that we were not expanding as fast as you would want. But times have changed, and $16.5 million fundraising quarters that allow you to communicate to a broader audience tend to have that effect. So does the Yang media blackout finally lifting, tends to have that effect. And it has meant that we see people that now are older than me and are more and more women. A lot of these rooms at these meet and greets are almost 50-50, and to be honest, a year ago, it didn't look quite like that. And this is critically important because the message was always one that could appeal across the spectrum, all parts of the spectrum of America. But we needed to get him in front of all parts of America in order for that to take hold, and it finally has. So here's what's going to happen. We've done this in Nashua and Portsmouth already today, and in terms of Andrew arriving. Those of you that are here to help us knock doors, you have our deep appreciation, because it turns out the second most effective way to turn a voter into your candidate's voter is a phone call conversation. It tends to move about a point and a half. That's a lot. It may not sound like a lot. That actually is a lot. That's the second best. The best is when you get a door knock on a targeted voter that leads to a conversation. That one, 18 to 20 points movement towards a candidate. So think about that. The third best is not a whole lot. The second best is a point, and what you are doing today is 18 to 20 points of impact. That is quantitative, it is real, and in an election where the majority of New Hampshire voters are miles away from making a final decision, where nobody can break 20% in New Hampshire or Iowa right now. Even the most famous people that have been getting ready to run for president since literally before I was born, I'm not thinking of anybody in particular, we are moving on up. And it means this wide open field where our net favorability is among the highest of anybody now. It is the result, again, of all of the Yang Gang and the low dollar contributions and so forth, have allowed us to take our really great field staff. Who here, we got some folks here that, who works in this office? Yeah, there we go. All right, you can thank these and others who are taking the resources that have come in and getting it out to the people that need to decide in the next several weeks. He is I was told several minutes ago that he was less than several minutes away. And he's not here yet, I'm presuming? Good. Well, that's not good, because you want to see him. But it means I get to start one story, and if I cut it off, it's because he's here. So I meet him at a coffee shop, Bridge Street Cafe in Manchester. We talk for an hour. I realize this guy is unlike any candidate I've seen, and I've been doing this for 20 years off and on. He speaks differently. He was identifying the problems. He wasn't just talking crap about Donald Trump for an hour. He actually was identifying that Trump was a symptom of the larger problems. And if you followed him for any length of time, you've probably heard him talk eloquently about this. We're not going to win the election by being not Donald Trump as sort of the core of a message. Not only does that not give optimism and a direction for the country, it also kind of communicates to people like my parents who live a few miles from here. I mentioned I grew up in this neighborhood. And they voted for Donald Trump in 2016. And by the way, they're immigrants. I'm a son of immigrants. And they voted for him because they wanted big change. They felt like regardless of what party was in power, folks like my parents, neither of whom have a high school degree, white working class parents. My dad retired last year at the age of 74. I mean, this, still have a mortgage. This is the real world. And they felt like change wasn't affecting them in a positive way. And they were willing to take a chance. And they would describe it that way on Donald Trump. And so if the Democratic nominee is somebody whose message is, hey, I'm not Donald Trump, I'll take you back to the past. I will take you back to what normal used to be. It's folks like my parents who are saying, well, that normal, that's what I'm trying to get away from. Why would I vote for somebody who's promising to bring me back to the place that drew me to take a chance on a reality TV show guy? And even worse, if we're not careful, if we communicate as a party that if you voted for Donald Trump in 2016, that you're stupid, or you're bad inherently. That I've done politics long enough that I do know this: the fastest way to not get somebody's vote is to begin the conversation by insulting them.
For sure.
Right? There are millions of people like my parents who made the decision they made because they thought it was the best choice in an imperfect set of choices.
Mm-hmm.
They're not bad people. They're my parents. I actually am quite fond of them, to be honest with you. And their friends are the same way. And let me tell you what my mom said, and I hope she doesn't mind because it got printed in the paper this morning, so it's too late. She said, if Andrew Yang is the nominee, I'm voting for Andrew Yang. If Joe Biden is the nominee, I'm voting for Donald Trump. And if Elizabeth Warren is the nominee, I'm volunteering for Donald Trump. I'm not making a statement about any of the candidates. That is perhaps a statement about my mother. But she represents a lot of people. She's looking for change. The idea of a sitting US senator or a former senator, vice president, or something like that as sort of the contrast that would draw them in the other direction is counterintuitive to anything that they would describe. So I meet Andrew, I realize this minutes in. Is Andrew showing up in a 16? No, okay, good. Or a bus?
No, but that's good that bus is stopping there seeing all these
Is the
signs.
bus full of young, curious people?
Yeah,
Maybe it's a bus full of canvassers? There you go. That'd be something. No, but we walked. Sorry, rumor. That was a false rumor. Fake news. That was fake news by me. All these people.
You heard it here first.
Are they seriously all here for us? Hey, come on in. Hello.
What?
Hey. Hello.
What? They were here for us.
Yeah.
sounds like a bus of people coming in.
A bus. What?
What the?
What is this?
The bus has arrived. The Yang bus.
Hey guys.
This is seriously a bus full of people.
We seriously have
For
a
Andrew
bus full
Yang.
of people.
That is crazy.
Hey, come on in.
Y'all are seeing this,
Hey, I
Yang
missed you
Gang.
guys yesterday.
There's
Yeah.
a bus that just showed up outside of
wanted
this
to bring
center.
Frank's class to learn about what it takes to canvas.
Well,
Bring the office in.
Well, here we are. Here, gather around, Andrew. Lucky for you, Andrew's late.
That is
Here, lucky. Don't mind
awesome.
going that way though, because we're gonna.
It's crazy that just happened. Y'all
There you
just
go.
saw
Okay.
it live.
What's the name of the group? Do you have a name or
I
anything?
guess you could say NYU Abu Dhabi. It's 15 international students who Frank once brought to New Hampshire to learn about the primary process. And nothing's more important. We know they're knocking on doors, talking to voters. So here they are.
Well, all right.
The cavalry showed up. Let's go, Yang Gang.
You guys come in, keep the door.
That's not planned. That was not planned.
It's sort of spontaneous. We knew we were in town and wanted to stop by.
Now, true story. Yesterday, one of our stops was in Bedford, and actually, Frank, I introduced Andrew as I typically do, and he walked over because now he recognized me as part of the campaign, and I recognized him as part of cable TV for the last 30 years. And we talked for a moment. He told me a little bit. You filled in some details, which is very helpful. And what we have here is, by and large, with a few exceptions, folks that we would describe as Yang Gang, people that are excited, in many cases, longtime supporters. Some from the Manchester area, some from points beyond, and we're getting ready to canvass, which is obviously part of what you anticipated. One thing I'll reiterate, sorry to repeat for a moment for those of you that were here, this is the importance of door knocking. The data show the second best way to move a neutral voter to your direction is a phone call that leads to a conversation, and that tends to move about a point to a point and a half. That's the second best. The best is a door knock from to a targeted voter, from a supporter, that leads to a conversation. And the data show 18 to 20 points movement. So I mean, that's a magnitude. We're talking 12 to 15, 18 times more impact. That's obviously more time intensive, right? But that has something to do with the interpersonal nature of it. There's nothing like a person and a person looking at each other and having a conversation. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We did that in Nashua at a similar event just before this. We did it late morning today in Portsmouth, had a fantastic crowd there as well. One thing about Portsmouth, and I'm biased, I used to be the mayor out there. It's a beautiful city. People ask me the best place to have dinner in Dover, and I tell them Portsmouth. And I love Dover, but it's also the smallest city in New Hampshire by area, and is the most Democratic city in New Hampshire by numbers, which means that you can't really go 3 doors without running into a Democrat, which we like that right now. Democrats and undeclared voters. Another thing that y'all should know that you're in here, New Hampshire's plurality is undeclared voters. So almost a majority of the registered voters of New Hampshire are neither Democrat nor Republican. They're undeclared. Some call them independent, but officially undeclared. We know this. 45% of undeclared voters are actually Republican leaning. They tend to vote, they pick up the Republican ballot. About 40% of them tend to pick up the Democratic ballot. And the other 15% are truly independent in that you could not really predict it, and they truly decide based on the specific matchups. Those are the real independents of New Hampshire. Here's the good news for people like Andrew Yang, specifically Andrew Yang. Those 45% of undeclared voters who are lean Republican don't have a lot of reason to vote Republican on February 11th. Trump is running in a relatively uncontested primary. Andrew Yang does the best of any candidate among those kind of voters. And, oh, shoot, you know what? I can give you the primer later. I've been doing this for a long time. It is so boring compared to what you can do right now, which I guess is talk to the next president of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Yang.
Let's go, Andrew!
Good timing, good timing. Oh, great. I was out of material.
Never out, Steve. Steve is a fount of strength and wisdom. Hello, everyone. Hello, Manchester. Thank you for being here. What a beautiful day to knock on some doors in Canvas.
For sure.
I appreciate the heck out of each and every one of you. We are going to help turn the country in a whole new direction in just, how many days is it?
I have no idea.
30.
February 11th.
30.
Today's the 12th, so it's
Yeah.
30 days. 30 days till the voting starts right here in New Hampshire. I have been blown away by the crowds, the energy, the enthusiasm at each of our events over the last few days. Crowds are bigger than ever. So many people are now tuning into the election that were frankly not paying any attention a little while ago. I've been comparing this to this is very nerdy, but how many of you all are Lord of the Rings fans? Yes. Right, hit or miss. So if you're not a Lord of the Rings fan, you'll still understand it. In the Lord of the Rings, there's this thing called the Eye of Sauron. You can think of it as like a lighthouse. So the comparison I've been making is that the Eye of Sauron is like homing in on New Hampshire, February 11th. It's like here now, and it's like moving closer every day. So just think of a lighthouse. It's the light thing. The light is closing in on New Hampshire, and in 30 days, the entire world will be seeing what the people of New Hampshire decide, what direction they want to move the country. And every single person you talk to is someone who's going to help take a completely different message to the rest of the country, that we can do better for ourselves, that we're about the future, not looking backwards, that we want to bring people together and have a different set of solutions that are organized around what would make our lives better and not what the folks in DC think is in our interests. I think we know best what's in our interests. And if you put economic resources in our hands, we'll be better positioned to solve our own problems and improve our own lives. What do you all think? Yeah. I think it's a very New Hampshire set of ideas too. You know, I think that's one reason why we're going to kick so much butt in this state. I'm going from here to Iowa later tonight, and we're going to fight in Iowa to get the baton to you all. But here in New Hampshire, I have to say I have incredibly high hopes for what we can achieve. For some of the reasons that Steve outlined, this is a natural home for us in so many ways. How many of you all are libertarians or libertarian sympathizers? Wow, so libertarians like the third party here in New Hampshire, and libertarians love the freedom dividend. Love it. Republicans, like Steve said, I've talked to now dozens, even hundreds of Trump voters here in New Hampshire who said they voted for Trump and this time they're voting for me. Because this is where the action is going to be in the Democratic primary. So we have an opportunity to shock the world, in large part because the turnout for the primary, I believe, is going to be higher than anyone thinks. And a lot of folks who are not showing up in the polls are going to come our way. But they're going to come our way only if they know about the campaign, our vision and message. And people learn from other people first and foremost. If you show up to someone's door and you knock on their door, they immediately know a bunch of things. One, they know that you took your time, you could be doing any of a range of things on a weekend to come talk to them. And then they say, okay, this person clearly is very passionate and dedicated, let me hear what they have to say. And at this point, you're gonna find that many of them are really open to to learning about this campaign because they're trying to figure out who the heck they're going to vote for. That's like that eye of Sauron moving in, where if you showed up a month or two ago, they'd be like, yeah, I don't need to worry about this just now. But now they're like, oh my gosh, in 30 days, I have to tell the world who I think the next president of the United States should be. I thought years ago that ideas change the world, and I learned at some point that people don't pay attention to ideas, people pay attention to other people. That's what you all are doing by showing your support for the campaign and knocking on doors. There's a saying, a poem, that the revolution will not be televised. Maybe raise your hand if you heard that. Yes, this is the revolution. You all knocking on doors, talking to people, spreading the message of this campaign. This is the uprising that will make history and shock the world on February 11th. So thank you all so much for making it happen. Let's make history together and show the world that we can do better for our people. Thank you all so much.
Let's go, Andrew.
And now because we're all here and working so hard, we'd love to take some questions. Yes.
How will you ensure corporate accountability for AI mistakes?
You know, I thought you were going a certain direction until you said for AI mistakes. Some of the leading AI figures in our country have actually said to me that they want guardrails from government. Very unusual for technologists to say that. But the reason they said that is that their incentives all lie in going as fast as possible, because they're competing with each other and they're competing with the Chinese. So what they said to me was that if we all go as fast as possible, one of us is probably going to do something that none of us really would like to see happen in the world. So we need some kind of guardrails. To me, the goal should be to try to prevent the mistake and not try and hold them accountable for after the mistake happens, because depending upon the nature of the mistake, it might not be something that you can just make right by saying, hey, pay a fine or whatever the heck it is. So we need to partner with the leading technologists of our time and make this trade with them. We will support your efforts to make sure that we remain the global leaders and compete with the Chinese, who are investing tens of billions of dollars in this. In return, we need to see what you're doing so you don't do something disastrous. And so that's how we hold them accountable. If they do something disastrous, obviously we'd have to go in after the fact. And I'd have to say right now our government is much more in that mode, in the responsive after the fact mode. After you do something disastrous, we will sometimes hold you accountable. If you're Wall Street and you crash the economy, we don't hold you accountable. If you're drug companies and kill tens of thousands of us or hundreds of thousands of us, we don't hold you accountable. Like that, there are a lot of things where the government is actually just way, way behind the curve on, and AI cannot be one of them. Sir?
Yeah, so to me, UBI is a brilliant idea. But that's only when after I follow you for several months and listen to
I know the feeling.
Yeah. So my question is, for example, if you're on a space stage, you only have 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like in that kind of scenario, how would you make sure that you persuade people that UBI is the idea we have to embrace in the future?
Well, first, thank you for digging in and discovering that's a good idea, and obviously not my idea. So I'm going to tell you what we've seen in the survey data in Iowa. We've been surveying you all too, but we're surveying Iowans a little bit more. So when we started surveying Iowans, support for universal basic income was quite low. They just asked people, hey, what do you think about everyone getting this much money in basic needs? People didn't like the idea. That was months ago. Now support is pretty high. Now support is up to 61%, which in political terms is really, really high. Like if you look at the things that 61% of voters support, it's like, you know, not that many things. So what changed? And here's the wild thing. This is how you know that people don't listen to ideas, people listen to people. People have gotten to know me over the last number of months in Iowa. We've spent millions of dollars on ads there. I've been there 24 times. I've campaigned all over the state. And now 61% of the surveyed Iowans think universal basic income is a good idea because they like and trust Andrew Yang, and Andrew Yang is saying that this is a good idea, so it's a good idea. And that is like so cool, right? that they've gotten there. So that is the way that we move people's points of view. Is like if you talk to someone face to face and you say, hey, check this out, this is a really good idea for all of us, then that will put them in a direction where they will have the same sort of process that you've gone through. But a lot of it, again, is like a person talking to another person. That the reason why they now think universal basic income is positive is because they've grown to like and trust the messenger. I wish that's not necessarily the way everything worked in the world, but I learned this years ago. When I started a nonprofit Venture for America, I thought the idea was so good that everyone would just run with the idea and it'd just be like, of course. And that didn't really happen. And so you had to still go face to face, door to door, and make that happen. And I did that for years. And it taught me that this is the way we get things done.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, hold up, because we gotta get to Londonderry. One more question.
And then selfies. We'll make a trade,
So
right?
quick selfie.
Trade. Sir.
Would you support universal basic income for permanent residents in the U.S. who are not American citizens?
I would support making it very, very straightforward and easy for permanent residents of the United States to become citizens. Because most of the permanent residents I know would be making our country better, like immediately from day one. I know so many people that are going through ridiculous bureaucratic nightmares trying to become citizens. I know people who married citizens who still can't become citizens and can't work and all of that. So I want to clean up the red tape and make it much easier to become a citizen, but I do think that you need to be a citizen in order to get the freedom dividend. And I will say that that's actually a pretty great benefit of citizenship. I have a feeling that would push a lot of people off the fence who've been thinking about it. But I would make it much more straightforward for people who are here for the right reasons and like our permanent residents. Like 95% of the permanent residents I meet are awesome. You know what I mean? And we have to just say like, hey, citizen up, and then freedom dividend.
Makes sense.
The great thing is that we are in this magical land of New Hampshire where we can make all of this stuff happen just like this. That's the wonder of this place. Every person you talk to is similarly magical, just like I think most all of you. How many of you are from out of state?
We're the same group who came yesterday and asked you to come on the bus.
They came
with
by.
us.
That's cool. I remember you. Well, still, anyone you talk to in the state, magical. So if you're in from out of state, all the better. You're surrounded by magical beings known as New Hampshire voters. Let's activate them. Let's make history. Thank you all. Let's take some selfies. All right.
Let's go, Andrew.
The time is short, so efficient selfie lifestyle. That's what we need. That's great. Yeah.
Silly.
Why not?
Gang, gang.
If I do, I'll know what happened.
You just heard it. Magical beans. This place is crazy. It's really weird because I don't know. It's like our eyes have been open towards the wheels of democracy and stuff since we've been here. Even I mean, it's just incredible how serious the New Hampshire takes politics. And it's like Andrew says, a lot of the country, we think that, damn, our vote doesn't matter. And for the most part, it doesn't. And I can't wait until that's changed because I feel like that's going to change because everybody's voice is just as much. But I kind of like it being able to see the dynamics of it. So we love you, Yang Gang. We got one more event coming for you, and that will be the event that he was just talking about, and it's going to start here shortly. So we got to get on the road. We love you, Yang Gang. See you soon.
Okay.